Oh yeah. So, hello nice people, how you doing? So, yeah. Now, the point of this video is to say that the Pantheon in Rome, this grand, absolutely amazing building, should be redated to about, say, 500 BC, 1000 BC, 2000 BC. We're going to prove that in this video, that it is not really Roman. And of course, I didn't come up with this. It's a guy called Wise Up. He has a channel. He doesn't like me very much, but he had some amazing videos, and he was saying, why did the Romans build out of a superior concrete and then revert to using brick? And why do they never really build in this style ever again? Why do we have nothing of this style? What's going on? And it's a great mystery, isn't it? So let's untangle the mystery and let's see who built the Pantheon. So you'll recall a video we made earlier, and this channel is just full of discoveries. We showed that there are the nubs in ancient Rome, and this was work done by Piranesi, a great artist who drew fantastic prisons, and he also drew these incredible diagrams, these gentlemen up here observing the excavations. And I noticed, well, you have the Romans sort of building around and through, see these little bricks here, through this enormous cyclopean Lego block-like creation. It's just absolutely incredible. And there's nubs on each block. This, by the way, looks a lot like Solomon's temple edifice. The beveling's the same. Ancient history criticisms is really into this kind of stuff. And you'll notice that this is what Piranesi drew. Poles going into the ground, and then the Cyclopean blocks. And this is the Theatre of Marcellus, I believe. And I reckon archaeologists really need to redo this excavation and check the dendrochronology, the tree rings on that. And you know what they're going to find? They're going to find that these are possibly many thousands of years older than the Romans. Because the Romans, they're great people, but they can't do everything. Especially, you're not building in a worldwide type of structure when you're just a little city-state, as they were for most of their history, at least half of their history. So what's going on? Well, the Romans claim that the first buildings in Rome, which were, I believe, they're dating back to Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders, were a couple pyramids. One was Romulus, one was Remus. And today they have different names, such as the Pyramid of Cestius, and the archaeology says, oh, it was a guy in Rome built this. Oh, just a Roman built this. And we've proven that cannot be the case. There are a number of evidences why that cannot be the case. Firstly, we discovered on this channel, and it was a world exclusive, that these pyramids are 8-sided, according to a woodcut, and from the air they appear to be 8-sided pyramids, just like in ancient Egypt. So they could be as old as the Egyptian pyramids. In addition, we discovered an old woodcut which shows these have shafts running through them, star shafts. The only other buildings in the Mediterranean which have star shafts are the Giza pyramids, 2 of them, and also, one of them, and also the star shafts at Baalbek. And Baalbek used to have an identical name to the Giza area, Heliopolis. This was another Heliopolis here in Rome. And, of course, if you're calling yourself Heliopolis, which seems to have been the name of the city before Rome, well, wouldn't you worship the sun? And that kind of sort of is what the Pantheon is. I mean, it's called the Pantheon, but if you're letting the sun through, and it's a kind of sundial, doesn't it seem to you that this is actually solar worship? And correct me if I'm wrong, but the sun is one god, and Pantheon means all the gods. So do you see, straight away, we have a massive contradiction happening here. So, on the Wise Up channel, he said that there were bricks. And the Romans built in the bricks, and it's true, they built in bricks wherever they went. Interesting triangular bricks here, according to this Piranesi excavation of an aqueduct. They knew all about the engineering, and it seems they filled the aqueduct with rubble. The bricks were just a facade, and they just built it cheaply as possible. As well as possible, and as cheaply as possible. The Romans were the best. To this day, the Italians, they still honestly seem to be the best builders in Europe. And here's something I saw this morning, and it got my brain ticking. Now, we all know that the Romans, it is becoming apparent that the Romans, just like the Incas, did not build roads everywhere. They overlaid roads, they recycled roads of their predecessors. It seems there was this ancient road network all over Europe, all over Britain, and the Romans overlaid it. Mr. Leeline, Alfred Watkins, wrote about this. He said that the Lees are Roman roads, but you excavate downwards, you see a lot more. It's amazing. So this is a Piranesi picture of a Roman road, the Appian Way. And straight away we see, these are not cobblestones, guys. The cobblestones are actually here on the side, right? Now, some roads are made of cobblestones, but these, it looks like it could be underneath the cobblestones, because remember, this bloke was an archaeologist, and he dug up things. Do you see what's happening here? This is perfect fitting polygonal stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do they cut it? You would say, well, this is cut so artistically. How do you do it? Is it moulded? It seems Rome was called Heliopolis. There was another civilization here. Now, do you remember the Vatican? My video on the Vatican. It seems that the Vatican itself was an ancient temple to the sun, and they simply recycled it. It was a place of the dead. It was a cemetery. It was near another demolished pyramid, possibly the pyramid of Romulus or of Remus. I'm not quite sure which one's which. And it seems, we've seen other maps of Rome, there were many pyramids around the edge outside the city wall. Reason for going outside the city wall is to bury the dead. You don't really bury the dead inside the city, you bury them outside the city. There's limited space inside the city, and every bit of land inside the city is incredibly expensive. So there were pyramids all around, and it was the same civilization as the 4th dynasty Egyptians, or the 3rd dynasty Egyptians, which was living in ancient Italy. Just incredible, and we've shown that with the, remember my video on the well in Sardinia, just incredible, which is in the Giza style, and the video was called "Are We Allowed to Say the Giza People Built This?" and it's in Sardinia. It's not even damn well in Egypt. So now we get to the Pantheon. I saw this picture today, and I thought, well, Architecture of Doom, is this some fantasy? That's the Pantheon. These two fellas are looking at a crack in the Pantheon, wondering how to fix it. This is, of course, Roman cement, Roman concrete. And straight away I thought to myself, well, now that I see this design closer up, where have we seen this design before? And, of course, we have seen this design before, haven't we? It's right there. Just unbelievable. And the design is so similar. Davidovich said it's geopolymer. We know that Eric von Daniken wrote back in the 70s that he was wondering why a 70-ton block is on top of a mountain. It came from another mountain, say 30 kilometers away. And von Daniken was also wondering why the top of Sacsayhuaman is all melted together. I mean, it's just incredible. And we have that design in the Pantheon. So straight away, there is an issue. Now, archaeologists actually date this, strangely enough, to the Roman period or after the Roman period. So it's actually kind of contemporary with what we think the Pantheon is all about. But the thing is, if it's the same and if archaeology is wrong, well, could this have been built by the ancient giants? Because why didn't the Romans continue to use their cement in every structure so they could build it to last forever? Why didn't they build the Colosseum to last forever? Why do they have to do everything so cheaply? What's going on here? Doesn't make any sense whatsoever to you. And a circular temple? Well, okay, that's interesting. Now, I'm going to prove now, if that wasn't enough, that this goes all the way back. I'm going to print that out. That's frame it. That's a nice picture. It's actually a Babylonian priest and with a ziggurat, and for some reason they've drawn it like an Ethiopian pyramid. So there's a fellow called Suetonius. Allow me to introduce Suetonius. And this is the best book you're ever going to read. It's so entertaining. It's just the greatest. And I have to recommend other books. Not only read that, but read the later version of Suetonius. He gossip about the emperors. These are the later emperors. This is called the Augustan history. Read Livy's early history of Rome, and you'll see that the later Romans were a very degenerate version of the early Romans, who were just a very high-class type of people. Just endlessly resourceful, never give up, kind of like the early Americans, just never giving up. Ammianus Marcellinus, I'm yet to read this, the later Roman Empire, when they were all degenerate. Procopius, the Byzantine version, and of course, Michael Psellus. But that's a tangent. We're going off on a tangent. What I wanted to show you was this. There was another circular building in Rome. Nero, his wastefulness showed most of all in the architectural projects. Now we're going to describe a building which has absolutely been obliterated. It's gone, it's finished, it's absolutely destroyed. It's not there anymore. But listen to this. And we don't know whether he inherited this or whether he built it. So his wastefulness showed most of all in the architectural projects. He built a palace stretching from the Palatine to the Esquiline. This is actually next to the Vatican, which he called the Passageway. And when it burned down soon afterwards, rebuilt it under the new name of the Golden House. The following details will give some notion of its size and magnificence, and it seems to me it's a pyramid. The entrance hall was large enough to contain a huge statue of himself, 120 feet high, and the pillared arcade ran for a whole mile. That sounds like the Vatican. The Vatican's a long, elongated sort of trench. An enormous pool like the sea was surrounded by buildings made to resemble cities. That could be the lake underneath pyramids. And by a landscape garden consisting of ploughed fields, vineyards, pastures and woodlands where every variety of domestic and wild animal roamed about. Parts of the house were overlaid with gold and studded with precious stones and mother of pearl. All the dining rooms had ceilings of fretted ivory, the panels of which could slide back and let a rain of flowers or of perfume from hidden sprinklers shower upon his guests. So it's a high technology world. The main dining room was circular, so circular temple. And its roof revolved day and night in time with the sky. Seawater or sulphur water was always on tap in the baths. So there's an underground spring next to it, just like pyramids have springs under them, like the Great Pyramid has spring under it. When the palace had been decorated throughout in this lavish style, Nero decorated and condescended to remark, "Good! Now I can at last begin to live like a human being." So there was another pyramid there. Another pyramid in Rome as well, a circular pyramid. So is the Pantheon actually a relic, circular type of pyramid? And actually we can show that the Pantheon is built in the same tradition as Stonehenge. The Romans didn't know about Stonehenge when they built the Pantheon supposedly in the time of Christ. So why would they make it so similar? And we're going to see this straight away. So keep watching, guys. Here we go. We're going to count up the pillars in the Pantheon. Also notice the tor shape, the tau shape, just like the Puma Punku blocks, the T shape, very interesting. Like the Akapana pyramid at Puma Punku is also in a tor shape. So therefore this is in a tor shape as well. There might have been a tor pyramid underneath this. But let's count up the pillars. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Interesting. So it's a base 30 system. 6 5s are 30, so it could be a base 6 system. And of course, this is the system of the ancient giants. And what we have happening at Stonehenge is pretty much the same thing as what we have happening at the Pantheon. And you're going to say, Charles, no way is what's happening at Stonehenge the same as what's happening at the Pantheon. But it is, guys. Look, the Y holes go up to 30. See that? 30. The Z holes, these are holes in the ground, go around the stones. They go up to 30. You see what I mean? This is very interesting. Now, supposedly there was supposed to be a circle of stars and stones, right? And if that's the case, and there was supposed to be a full circle here, why are there no holes delineated as there are with the X and the Y holes or the Aubrey holes? There never were stones here. And I've said this again and again because it's two jaws clamping on each other, right? Right? And the stars and stones number, on this map anyway, up to 30. On other maps, up to 33. They could be counting some other extra stones. Why would they go up to 30 if there's supposed to be extra stones there? There isn't. It's one set of jaws there, one set of jaws there, and the blue stones inside each one are the teeth. Here there are 10 with 5 on top, the trithlons, as they're called, trilithons, and this is the inner circle. Now, what's going on? In the outer circle, they actually go up to almost 60. It seems 56. Halfway is 30. Very interesting. So it's a base 6, base 30 system. It's just genius. So why do we have, and of course it's like a Tor shape with a circle because it's like a cross. But why? Why? What's going on? Why is it so much like the Pantheon? Another version, of course, is Aachen in West Germany. It's just incredible. So, if it's so similar to Stonehenge, and they didn't know about Stonehenge, it can only be that the Pantheon and Stonehenge and the Chinese Temple of Heaven, which is also a circle, also with lintels, also lintels are only used in religious architecture in China, they're all the same tradition of the ancient red-haired giants. And who founded China? The redheads. We have a bloke called Inigo Jones. He was a great architect in the time of Henry VIII and just afterwards. And he died just before the fire of London, and that was all rebuilt. Christopher Wren, the next great architect. But as you see, this is his style of architecture, and it seems to me he actually basically invented the Georgian. He was basically making Georgian or pre-Georgian architecture with an ancient Rome flavour, like a Roman villa. He must have been, to do that walkway, that's a Roman thing. He must have been excavating Roman houses in Britain. But what I wanted to show you was, he came up with Georgian architecture, it seems. Or no, we could call it Renaissance architecture, I guess. But here's what he did. He studied Stonehenge, and he was the first to architecturally study it in modern times. And he said, this is how it used to be. And he thought, it has to have circular perfection, so it's not going to have horseshoes, right? And so he drew 30 sazens and 30 blue stones and 18, which are thrice 6 blue stones in there. And he instead of making a lucky horseshoe, he did it like that as a circle. And he said, this is a Roman building. He said, this must be built by the Romans. And archaeologists today say, that's rubbish. How can it be built by the Romans? Oh, he must be stupid. Well, you know what? I think he was onto something. He was really onto something, guys. He saw that the common ancestors of the Romans and Britons were one and the same, possibly the ancient giants stemming out of the UK. And this was their version. Stonehenge was their version of the Pantheon. And of course, you build it in the centre of landmass. Where is Rome? Rome is in the sort of the centre of the Italian landmass, right in the middle. I mean, it's a perfect place for it. I suppose Rome itself was geomantically centred in Italy as well as this being geomantically centred in England, as we saw on the Matthew Paris maps. I mean, this is incredible. His rivals at the time said, no, it's a Viking structure, because the Vikings had also had circles and things. And of course, the Etruscans, they built these circular tombs, which is why he said it's a Roman building of the Tuscan style. But it seems to me, therefore, the Pantheon must be an Etruscan type building. And don't you think to yourself, when did the Romans ever build anything like that again? Never. They never did. This is a pre-Roman building, maybe 500 BC. the time of the Etruscans. And of course, we know that the Etruscans built monumental pyramids. And apparently there was a guy called Lars Porsena, and he built these pyramids. He built one pyramid at Clusium. The Romans hated the Etruscans. They were trying to break away from them, even though they were Etruscans, and they demolished this massive structure, just absolutely enormous, hundreds of feet high, pyramids on a giant sphere, so a sort of spherical Pantheon-like structure, as you see. And this was built by the Etruscans. The Etruscans were great builders, 600 foot tall. Basically, you don't build like that unless you have a massive empire, and it is known that the Etruscans controlled the trade of the Western Roman Empire, the orichalcum trade, and it's probably orichalcum money which built buildings like this and buildings like that, and the history has been lost. Look, what I'm holding here is pretty much most of Roman history. That's most of it. There's a few other historians like Cassius Dio, but that's most of it. There's a little bit, maybe about 2/3 more, and that's it. There's not too much. So we don't know who built what. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you're as excited as I am. This is very interesting stuff. Thanks. Cheers.